I am Grace Jerry, a recording artist, human and disability rights advocate, a Mandela Washington Fellow, a peace promoter, and the executive director of Inclusive Friends Association, an organization that works to promote the issues of disability in Nigeria through advocacy, through action, through campaign, through music, and any form of innovative way to bring about the issues of people with disabilities to the fore of development. One of the biggest challenges that the community of people with disabilities that I represent here in Nigeria is the issues of access and inclusion. We do not have access to education, access to employment, access to lead a normal and a productive life, like every other citizen of Nigeria. We're talking about 27.3 million Nigerians living with disabilities who have been discriminated against, who have, been marginalized. One of those approaches, approach to water, sanitation and hygiene, creating access or bringing the benefit of sanitation and hygiene to children with disabilities. And one of the things we've done is to provide them toilets. We built accessible toilets and provided solar-powered boreholes to provide portable drinking water to not just the school, but to the community surrounding the school, with the Music for Toilets project, where we use music to provide the funds to be able to provide toilets for these schools and the community surrounding those schools. Okay, one of the amazing things that the Presidential Precinct has done for me and for Inclusive Friends Association is first having to, the strength of collaboration and networking, and how, we can deepen how to advocate for the issues, of the communities that we represent. And that was one of my biggest takeaway, because after coming back from the fellowship, the advocacy level, my advocacy strength has really expanded, and the network of people to, have their voice and their interest in developing issues surrounding disability. One of the things I would also request that the precinct would do for us and with the people of the community of people with disabilities is to partner with us to provide more and more toilets and water facilities, especially for schools serving children with disabilities. When you go and you see the challenges that these children face, a lot of them have to stay back at home. A lot of these children are falling into pit toilets, children with disabilities. So we want to be able to provide more and more, toilets and water facilities, and have the opportunity to enroll more children with disabilities in school. Another thing is, we also did a research in communities that have experienced conflict violence, and a lot of women with disabilities have lost their source of income and livelihood, have lost mobility aids, have lost, their sense of, responsibility, so to say. First, we have worked in one way or the other to bring psychosocial support to these women, but one of the things lacking is the economic, support for these women to have, their source of income and livelihood back. Most of them are into businesses that they have lost, and their cry now is, how can Inclusive Friends afford like a soft grant, for them to start something small? Some we've even gone as far as providing them with financial literacy, trainings. We've given them skill acquisition support, but they lack the economic capacity to be able to sustain this, development. So those are the partnership we're calling for. As a result of, the knowledge I gained while at the Presidential Precinct on how to advocate, how to gather data, accurate data that informed advocacy, evidence-based advocacy. IFA, that's Inclusive Friends Association, has been able to come up with Nigeria's first and second accessibility audit of polling unit, which we called the Access Nigeria Project, Disability Votes Matter campaign. The goal of the project is to improve the participation of people with disabilities in Nigeria's political and electoral process. Right now, the findings from the audit of access to polling unit, access to electoral materials, access to civic and voter education, the findings and the recommendations are already changing the narrative, changing the situations around voting and people with disabilities. So the idea behind the name Inclusive Friends Association first is to make, people think inclusion in all they do. When you keep hearing the name inclusion, and then hearing the word friends, automatically makes you know that I am part of this movement. I am part of this, community where I don't have to keep my mouth shut because I am not affected. In one way or the other, you are affected directly or indirectly. You may have a friend with disability. You may have a neighbor or a colleague that lives with disability. So issues of inclusion, issues of access, issues of, promoting disability rights is everybody's project, is everybody's work. And that is why the name Inclusive Friend. So automatically, you know that you are part of this advocacy with us.